Hiya, and welcome back to Far Beyond the World, the game that teaches us that you can be both gay and homophobic at the same time. Looking at you, Ranok. I was going to rage about like Tano, because seriously, Tano is a fucking bitch. Hiya. Let's just hop right in. I open my eyes, looking drowsily around. It's still dead of night, yet the bedroom is bathed in the white glow. I could almost mistake it for a day had it not been for the ambient blue tint. There's an odd tightness in my chest which forces me fully awake. The air is humid, almost choking. It's hard to breathe, and my gasps rattle me further. I have to step outside, even if just for a moment. I simply need to catch some fresh air before another panic attack sets in. I hop off the bed and approach the door slowly, mulling carefully over my decision to leave while I do so. I don't want to wake up the wolf, but I also cannot stay inside. Yo, we're like dropping so many frames. My skin feels on fire as if the air burned me. I grab onto the handle, trying to turn it without making much noise. The bolt clangs softly as I unlock the doors. I try to open them as quietly as possible, but the hinges screech in prolonged agony. There is no other way around it, so I pull the doors ajar as fast as I can. Yo, is the stream like ever so lightly shitting itself? Like just ever so slightly? Once I peek into the main room, I can see Ranok sleeping on the floor next to the now cold hearth. I feel bad for occupying his bed, but it was his choice to sleep here. Normally, I would rather trade places with my host, but I'm still not over how we left things off. Although I can understand his inner conflict, it wasn't fair of him to just leave me like that. I see him move, and for a moment I think the wailing hinges have woken the male, but he only assumes a more comfortable position on his pile of blankets. When I realize he's still asleep, I sigh in relief and begin moving towards the outer doors. However, as I pass next to him, the floors creak and I stop dead in my tracks. I throw a cautious gaze to the wolf only to notice his troubled expression. He strains his eyes shut, body slightly twitching, while his tail gives frustrated flickers. Although he's quiet, his labored breath leaves no doubt that he's having a bad dream. Serves him right. For a split second, I throw my head towards the doors, thinking it's a fair punishment for what he'd done. But then I realize I'm not that petty. This isn't me. Although some parts of my mind already succumbed to anger, I managed to wrestle back control. I looked at him with pity, quietly kneeling next to his form. I placed my hand onto his forehead, gently petting him. I know he didn't mean to hurt me. I've learned by now that the wolf is himself aching, and every of his actions is meant to spare me as much pain as possible. I'm not going to add to our troubles through some petty resentment. As I ruffle his fur, his breathing slows down, and his expression softens, whatever tormented him banished by my touch. Once he's settled into a more comfortable dream, I cannot help but smile. Let at least one of us have a peaceful night. I take a deep breath and stand up, continuing towards the exit. I open the doors slightly, peeking through the crack to see if anyone's outside. There's no one around. I cannot even see the sentries where Ranok said they usual camp. After such a party, I bet everyone is simply fast asleep, or perhaps the location of the guards rotates on night-to-night basis. Whatever the reason, it's quite fortuitous. Relieved, I step outside. The night is warm, with spring winds bring more of the much-welcomed southern air. I walk slowly towards the chair, content on simply staying out on the porch. I sit myself comfortably, almost like a lord on the throne overlooking his serene domain. Despite the cold wood tickling my naked skin, I don't complain. It's a nice sensation compared to the scalding heat which interrupted my peaceful sleep. A stray bead of sweat trails my face, a reminder of that odd feeling. I wipe it off, admiring the scenery. I can't get over how bright everything is, with the waning moon glowing in its full glory. I don't know why, but I feel like taking a short walk, invited by the white light. With a scoff, I get up and approach the steps, jumping over the uneven stone. Fool me once, I mutter in amusement, stepping on the path and trying to decide where to go. The village doesn't seem like a good idea. Even if I gained some good faith, snooping between the houses in the dead of night would quickly undo all of that. Which only leaves the woods. Normally, I wouldn't even entertain such an idea, yet an uncharacteristic sense of courage fills me tonight, aided by the luminescent glow showering everything around me. Besides, Ranok seemed adamant that the area around the village is quite safe. At first, I step off the path cautiously. However, the deeper I get into the woods, the more at ease I feel. For some reason, the forest seems almost welcoming, as if it awaited my arrival. I cannot help but admire how dense and lush it is. Surely, I've seen woods in my life, but they never seemed this natural, almost undisturbed by the hand of men. But I'm quickly reminded that this is no ordinary forest. I touch the trees as I pass them, noticing some having their names already claimed. It's an odd feeling, knowing that each of them represents a person. Drog, Talon, Cora, each wolf living their life alongside a name tree. It's almost surreal to think about, and my imagination runs wild. I try to picture a ceremony where a wolf claims his tree. How does that even work? I'd like to think that the entire village is present as they observe the youth inscribe their name into the bark under the careful eye of the shaman. That must feel quite something. A milestone for sure. I trail Cora's name with my finger. The etching, although simple, has an undeniable feminine touch to it. Her tree is a young, slender birch, and unlike other carvings, this one is still bleeding sap. I rub it between my fingers. I guess her name has been claimed quite recently. I decide to continue my walk, slowly meandering between different trees and shrubs when I suddenly come to a stop. My eyes open wide at an unexpected, yet in retrospect, an inevitable sight. I cover my lips, overwhelmed by a surprising torrent of sadness washing over me. A tree in front of me, huge and sprawling, has its name crossed out. Beneath the moonstone tied around the trunk signifies that a wolf's journey has come to an end, and he has been laid to rest here. He must have stood here for decades, if not centuries, looking down upon those who would pass by. And now it looks down upon me. I approach slowly, surprised by my own reverence, stopping mere inches before an ancient rusty sword half-grown into the trunk. I can only assume it means I'm face to face with the once mighty warrior. I struggle to decipher the crossed-out etchings. I mutter with slight doubt. However, speaking the name aloud almost feels as if I'm breathing life back into the fallen wolf. I look up as a sudden gust of wind rustles the leaves above me and a slight chill creeps down my back. I gaze around in panic, feeling as if I'm no longer alone. But the woods are empty, with only the dead keeping vigil over them. I shake my head at how easily I got spooked. Rest well, my friend. I'm sure you've earned it. I exhale, patting the mighty trunk as I walk off. The deeper I venture, the more trees I see with moonstones glistening in the light. Waning, waxing, quarter moons, entire generations of wolves resting peacefully over the watchful gaze of their goddess. Although I feel out of place, the welcoming sensation persists, bidding me to follow. I feel ashamed, remorseful even about the comments I've made about these trees. Seeing them now, an entire forest standing as testament to the tribe's history and lineage, I understand the significance. It's a living cemetery. I can only imagine how upset I would be if someone desecrated a resting place of my dearly departed. I wish I could take it all back, but the moonlight doesn't waver, almost as if absolving me of my foolish transgressions. I simply take a deep breath and decide to clear my mind. I've been doing a lot of overthinking lately, and how did that turn out? I follow my 2 feet, allowing them to take me where they will as I just enjoy the night. Hang on, let me check something. Huzzah! Sorry, part 8 is now up on YouTube. I'm not sure how long I've been walking through these woods. I don't even know what direction I took, feeling like I might have unwittingly turned around a few times. I begin to worry that I am lost, not really keen on the prospect of Ranok having to search for me. This could easily be misinterpreted as an attention-seeking stunt. The last thing I need is the wolf thinking I'm hysterical, which I bet he's quite close of doing on the count of my near-constant freakouts. Ugh, get a grip. I exhale, rubbing my temple in annoyance. I push forward, bid by the moonlight piercing through some thick overgrowth. I struggle to part the bushes when I suddenly arrive at a clearing. Whoa. It's akin to the meadow I spent an afternoon with Ranok, but this is a different place, with tall grass waving on the wind like a sea of green. The landscape is dotted with white menhirs, similar to that erected in the center of the village. In the far corner I can see a structure resembling a henge, a trio of double tall megaliths capped with horizontal dolmens. The stones are white and shine in the moonlight like polished marble. I can see a shadow of a person kneeling in the middle of that stone circle. I consider retreating, but the moonlight quickly reveals a familiar figure. It's Varissa. She's kneeling in front of a shallow pool, arms stretched out to the sky, her pristine coat almost glittering in the white glow. Mother Moon, I need your guidance. Her voice carries softly on the wind. It's uncharacteristically faint and wavering, completely devoid of her usual composed demeanor. She's clearly distressed. I decide to approach her, moving quietly as to not interrupt her prayers. Please, speak to me, she asks again, her words pitiful and desperate. I watch her slumped figure as she stays there silent and expectant, as if truly awaiting a response. Eventually, her muzzle rises upwards and she gazes at the white sphere again. I am sitting here, alone in the darkness. She continues to beg. I can swear she's sobbing. I'm blind without your guidance. My heart begins to sink at her sorrowful state. I don't know what to do. Should I even be here? Clearly, it's an intimate moment between her and the goddess. Her goddess. I shouldn't intrude. I proceed to back out slowly, eventually facing the woods once more when another quiet sob reaches me. You have been silent ever since that human arrived. She sighs, again shrinking in defeat, and I stop in my tracks. I turn around, feeling bad called out like that, but I also cannot blame her. I have uprooted her life, even if I did so unintentionally. I caused this, whatever crisis of faith she's going through. It is my fault. I better leave. Have you forsaken me? Did I make a mistake? Her rattled breath makes my throat clench. Please, speak to me. She pours her heart out in that last plead. But Aluna isn't going to answer, is she? Varissa's sorrowful tone breaks my heart, and I cannot bear it any longer. I cannot leave her in such a state. That would be cruel. I take a deep breath and step forward, wanting to reveal my presence, but the female's ears perked up even before I speak her name. Varissa? Once she hears my voice, she quickly tries to compose herself. Salem! She exclaims, while hastily rubbing her eyes, clearly wanting to hide her tears. You shouldn't be out here. You are past the village boundaries. It's fine, I reply, approaching the she-wolf slowly and casually looking around to give her time to adjust herself. Everyone's fast asleep, and I doubt you're going to hurt me. I mumble, taking in the scenery. The shrine looks absolutely enchanting. Once I hear that she's collected, I take a seat beside her in the grass. I cannot avoid looking at a stone pool in front of us. Is this? Yes. She whispers, with a nod. I feel eerie gazing at the birthplace of Ranok. Goosebumps appear on my skin as I remember how the Dark Male was stillborn, unmoving until his moon brother entered the world beside him. And it all happened right here. If places could tell stories. I sigh, looking at Varissa's troubled expression with worry. Is everything alright? She smiles, almost forcing a chuckle into her words. I was just communing with Aluna. Did she respond? Varissa looks up, releasing a defeated sigh. She's silent as the moon. For the first time, I can see her without the confident facade. Unlike Ranok, she chose to be honest with me for once. I decide to return the sentiment. I know you think it's my fault. What? No. The female interrupts almost automatically. I've heard you. No point in beating around the bush. She looks at me with worry, then regards the radiant face of her deity. The moon seems much larger than what I think it should be. It's not like that. I don't regret saving your life. I just worry I made a mistake somewhere along the way. What could you have done differently? I don't know. You saved my life, and you did so without hurting anyone in the process. Surely that's not a mistake. And if you both honestly believe that this whole mess was fated... I pause, trying to contain a chuckle. Then you're doing the best you can with what little guidance you received. She looks at me, almost taken aback by my words, and scoffs in amusement. Eloquent, perhaps Ranok is right, and you are a lost noble. Varissa laughs. But your words do ring true. Mother Moon is fickle. She changes her face every night, never in the same mood. It's hard to read her sometimes. The female says in a calm voice, almost as if convincing herself as much as me. This world is so alien, yet I feel somewhat responsible for sowing fear and doubt into the hearts of those amazing creatures. Even though they're wolves, they're as remarkable and enthralling as any human I could imagine. Or even more so. I can't help but feel bad. I'm sorry for all of this. I never wanted to cause... No. She interrupts me again mid-sentence. It's me who's sorry. My ancestors warned me that my path would be hard. I need to remain strong. I believe we're on the right track. She looks back at me with a confident smile, despite wet streaks betraying where tears flowed just a few moments ago. And you proved that at the feast. I don't know about that. I think I might have underestimated Tano. She chuckles. Tano is many things, but he's not malicious. At least not for the sake of it. I thought you didn't like him. I don't. That's because he has a habit of poking his nose into other wolves' business. The female rolls her eyes in annoyance. He's a creature driven by curiosity, you see, so sparking his interest might have been your saving grace. Still, I would keep my distance if I were you. One never really knows where his sniffing will lead him. I fully intend to. Might be easier said than done, especially now when it's clear he is quite taken by you. So is everyone, for that matter. For a tribe screaming bloody murder every time an otherkin steps into our borders, that's quite a feat. I'm surprised by her words. Indeed, the tribe wolves seem weary, if not hostile at first, but as time passed, their attitude towards me improved. I've also noticed Ranok is getting quite attached to you. He thinks I'm his path, that's all. I shrug, not trying to delude myself that there's something there, when there clearly isn't. If you say so. She smiles almost as if she knew more than I do. Then again, she did grow up with Ranok, while I know him but a few days. Just keep in mind that his moonstone is a full moon for a reason. And that means that he's very much like Aluna herself. Fickle? I force a chuckle, to which she only smiles. At first glance, yes, but behind that ever-changing mask is someone constant who will always be there for you. You just have to give them time, just like with the moon. Eventually, Aluna always shows up to brighten the sky. Isn't she giving you a silent treatment, though? Just like Ranok's giving me one. Why are you here? She muses with her much more familiar melodic tone, and I'm almost thrown off by the question. Because Ranok found me. No. She laughs at me. Why are you here now? I woke up. It was a challenging night. I just needed some air. I mumble, trying to actually figure out how I ended up here. Would it be safe to assume you were distressed? How did you know? I can smell it on you. She closes her eyes and smiles, twitching her nose in short, discreet sniffs. You needed help. And so did I. Turns out Mother Moon was not being silent at all. She was just being busy. She regards me with her knowing gaze. I asked Aluna for comfort, to bolster my resolve, and here you are. And judging by your rapidly relaxing heart rate and scent, you needed someone to talk to. You mean she brought me here? I exhale in amusement. It's a comforting thought at least, if not a bit of a stretch. I look up at the moon and just take in the light. Even though it's no longer full, the shine it gives envelops nearly everything. All of creation this side of the world is bathed in the white glow. The moon's so unbelievably pretty tonight. Yes, she is. The female regards the argent sphere with amusement, almost as if she only just noticed it. She's smiling at us. For whatever reason, that assessment reassures me. She invites me to sit closer to her, extending her paw behind my back. I scooch over and rest my head on her shoulder as she embraces me. Do you know the story of your birth? She nods quietly. But it's a story for another time. Okay. I try not to sound disappointed. Some things come to us at just the right time, Salem. Even if we think we want more, sometimes it's not what we need. What do you mean? I ask in confusion, as a spit of wisdom came out of nowhere. However, somehow it feels very relevant to Ranok. Wait, could it be possible she smells him on me? I wince slightly, wondering if I should perhaps pull away, but then again, if she smells Ranok on me, then it's already too late. Best piece of advice I can give you right now is to just wait. What for? Anything. She shrugs. Just allow for things to come into your life as they may, at their very own pace. Life has a tendency of sorting itself out. Yeah, she's right. Haste is the devil's work, and all good things come in time. I should stop rushing and overcomplicating everything and just enjoy myself. Just like now. We both look at the moon in silence. We don't exchange words after that point. No words are needed. We just take in the glorious radiance of the mother moon. I smile, as if feeling her blessing touch us both. I can see Varissa being at peace as well, which was more than I could have hoped for. I would not want the female to suffer because of me, nor for her faith to waver. Mother. Knowing that I somehow managed to keep her resolve was the greatest reward in itself. I thank Aluna for this gift, whether she is real or not. She definitely turned a bad day around for both of us. Oh no. I began slowly dozing off on her shoulder, causing the female to exhale to stir me up. Well, that was refreshing. Shall we head back? She gets up and extends her paw towards me. I just nod, taking hold of her and standing to my feet. She walks off, but before I follow, I throw a last curious glance towards the pool. To think this is the source of all their moonstones. I'm almost tempted to come closer and take a peek, as if hoping I would find one of my very own. Salem. Something shimmers in the depths of the pool. The waters muddle the image hidden just beneath the surface. My feet tremble slightly as I feel a sudden pull towards the well. My hand itches to reach out to retrieve what I believe is a newly formed moonstone. I look back to Varissa, wondering if she also sees it, but the female has already put some distance between us. I gaze back to the water. Something's definitely there. I want to approach, but I feel the moon's glow intensify, almost as if I stood in the glare of a spotlight. Hey, yo! The familiar melody fills my ears, as dozens of whispers collide into one simple warning. Don't. The glare retracts and I blink my eyes to adjust my vision. Again, I look to Varissa, but she pays me no mind. Whatever's happening is happening only to me. I'm torn, struggling to fight the urge to simply confront the waters. What if there's an answer lying at the bottom of the pool? My mind begins to wander and I find my feet shift slightly towards the water's edge. Which one? Comment. Do a thing while it does that. Okay. I take a step towards the well, my legs staggering a little as if my own body fought me along the way. Come. Salem, what's the matter? I snap out of my stupor, gazing now into the wavy reflection of the moon. The waters are dull and empty, whatever tugged at my inner desire gone as if it was never there. Another mirage meant to mess with me. It's nothing, I was just admiring the scenery. I mutter, trying to recollect my thoughts. I feel utterly confused. Seems I cannot get away from the voices. I'm under so much pressure that my anxiety begins to spill into the waking world. For a moment, I think of talking to Varissa, but considering our earlier conversation, I don't want to come across as if I'm mocking her beliefs. She seems to already be struggling on my account. This is an unnecessary distraction. I guess the whole Aluna talk just got into my head. The female notices my tardiness and approaches me to slip her paw around my elbow and lock arms. Come, it's getting late, and if Ranok finds you missing, he will be freaking out. Yeah, right. She tugs at me slightly, and I oblige. I nearly forgot about Ranok and our mishap. I do dearly hope he's still fast asleep. We don't know if he's going to be... Yeah. As we return to the village, Varissa guides me back towards the cottage. Apparently, I took quite a detour through the woods. It is a wonder how I stumbled upon the moon shrine. Once the house is in our sight, the female bids me a good night. Her home is in the other direction. I wave her goodbye and make my way towards the cabin, an uneasy smile stretching across my face. We both needed reassurance, and both have received it. I must allow Ranok to process things at his own pace. Pressing him isn't fair and will only push us further apart. So far, he's been good at opening up when the time was right. Besides, I have other things to worry about. The voices became quite conspicuous now. I hear them. It's not just in my head. Whether I'm going mad or simply spiraling is yet to be seen. But for the time being, I have my plate full. I nearly yelp out as I hear a strange voice mumble in the bushes. The tigers must be growing really desperate if they think a human will do the trick. Bitch! You're one to talk when you have a fucking QR code as a tattoo on your shoulder. You're one to talk. Or perhaps they thought it clever, hard to decide which. You might have them fooled, but I know you speak Wolven. I still hold my chest, steadying my rattled heart, while the bunny continues his random monologue as if he wasn't even speaking to me. That's right, I'll be keeping a watchful eye on you, you little... Who does he think he is? That makes two of us. I bark at him in annoyance, pretty fed up with the impertinence of this guy. What are you doing lurking outside our windows, you fucking creep? What did you say? He looks at me wide-eyed, stumbling back into the bushes. I'm done playing games. Cut the crap, I don't have time for this. You think you can threaten me? Ranok, Vol, and Varissa are all in on this. You rat me out, and there won't even be a piece of you left once they're done with you. The rabbit stands there, shaking, and I can't help but smile that my ultimatum worked so well. How are you doing this? Doing what? Speaking Old Sylvan. By the spirits. It's like you were born in my burrow. What? This again? No, I'm not engaging at this point. Look, I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm not in a mood for it. If you won't leave me alone, I will tell others that you're on to me and that you speak Wolven. That's punishable by death. This makes my secret your secret. So better keep your mouth shut so we can both stay alive. I sneer in anger. I can see Trist is really shaken, and I start to think that he really didn't expect me to understand him. I'm not speaking Wolven! None of the wards are. What? No, this is getting too much for me. I'm so confused that the sudden anger that took hold of me simply dissipated. My breath stabilizes, and I just take a deep exhale. Whatever. I look to him with a more empathetic gaze. I didn't mean for you to lose your job, and I don't mean for you to lose your life either. So just stay away from me and stop giving me those funny looks. I rush past him, bumping into his shoulder and causing the bunny to stumble out of my way. I simply run towards the house. My head is spinning with the torrent of conflicting thoughts and emotions. What sort of crazy ride am I on? When I enter the cabin, I close the doors behind me and slump against them. What the fuck is going on? First Wolven and now Old Sylvan? The chief was supposedly speaking to me in some human dialects as well. But they all blend into one. I cannot distinguish one language from another. But they are as native to me as my own thoughts. Just like the whispers. I quickly look around the room for some water as my throat clenches and I'm desperately thirsty. I pour myself a cup and swallow greedily, but with each gulp I feel the void inside my stomach grow deeper, while the heart rate spins completely out of control. I think I might be losing my damned mind. I gaze at the room in panic as it begins to contort again, the shadows extending and reaching out to me. No, no! My eyes well up and my heart is racing at 100 miles an hour. Please, no! I drop the cup, but before I can hear it clang on the floor, everything turns black. No, not this again. I beg, tears cascading down my cheeks like heavy waterfalls. Soon your eyes will be open. Suddenly I feel a large hand grab onto my arm, pulling me deeper into the void. No! Let go of me! I shout out with all the air in my lungs. I force myself free, pulling back and stumbling to the floor. Oh, thank God he's wearing pants. Salem, what are you doing? I can see Ranok standing above me with a shocked expression, his paw still extended where it held me. What's going on? I look around in utter horror, huddling to the wall behind me. Everything's back to normal, as if nothing ever happened. What? You were just standing there, mumbling. No. Oh God, no. I'm starting to lose sense of what's real and what isn't. The wolf squats beside me, looking rather worried. No doubt he senses my erratic heart rate. So much for not coming across as hysterical. I'm sorry, didn't mean to wake you up. I mutter, struggling to get up. He aids me with his paw, pulling me back to my feet. I must have been sleepwalking. I'll go back to bed. I try to rush towards the bedroom doors, but Ranok grabs my hand gently, stopping me in my tracks. I can sense you're in distress. His voice is soft and full of concern. Only now I notice I'm slightly shivering, and my heart must seem to him as if it tried to burst out of my chest. It almost feels as if I have a pocket of air stuck inside. Look, I'm sorry about the kiss. It's always about him. It's not the goddamned kiss! I snap, yanking my hand free. Salem. I seriously can't deal with his sexuality issues right now. I run towards the bedroom doors and slam them shut behind me. Since there is no lock, I sit down with my back against them, preventing the wolf from entering without having to force his way in. I try to calm myself, to rein in my rattled breath, but again, I'm slowly spiraling. I hear him knock on the door and I sign annoyance, struggling to hold back the tears. Go away! I plead sorrowfully. I really don't know what to do. Between the torrent of thoughts in my head and the mixed feelings he invokes in me, I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Salem, what really happened? He asks through the door, and his saddened voice almost makes me want to let him in. If it's not the kiss, why are you so freaked out? I need to know. Your fucking rabbit threatened me! I gasp, finally allowing tears to fall freely. Why threatened him? I'm not sure which anymore. I mutter defeated. I did not handle Trist well. What? When? Although I really want to tell him about my near-constant freakouts and my now-apparent weird multilingual abilities, I don't think it's the right time for either. We've just opened one can of worms with that stupid kiss. No point opening another without putting the lid back on the first. It doesn't matter. It would seem I will have to bite the bullet and take the embarrassment of coming across as too emotional, rather than put my mental psychosis on full display. Was it at the feast? I decided to evade with the half-truth. Yeah, he kept giving me funny looks. Well, if that's the case, I'll set him straight. He has no business harassing you. No, don't. I don't want to cause... I cut off, realizing how just hours before we both accused one another of making a spectacle of ourselves. A scene? He guesses through a forced chuckle. Bit too late for that, don't you think? Yeah. We stay like this in silence, when I feel his heavy form slump down and press against the door. He sat himself on the other side, mirroring me. I never wanted to make you angry, but I understand why you don't want me there. First, I take it too far with the teasing, and then... He holds his breath, unable to even verbalize it. You must be so disgusted. I'm flattered, not disgusted. Huh? He exhales, clearly surprised by my candidness. I mean, having a wolf like you kiss someone like me? That's any guy's dream, given they're... defective? He says in a worried tone, and I sign defeat. You're not defective, Ranok. Not to me. Maybe, but to everyone else? Fuck everyone else. I snap, annoyed he allows himself to be boxed up like this without putting up even a shred of a fight. What matters is what you think and feel. Do you see me as defective? As someone who needs to be fixed? No! The wolf stutters in panic. You're perfect the way you are. And now I'm the one taken aback by his frankness, a small blush creeping onto my face over the compliment. But at least now I can turn his own heartfelt words against his conditioning. Then for the love of God, stop using that word, I demand sternly. It's even more painful when you use it to describe yourself. You have so much going on. The last thing you need is self-loathing. He falls silent, clearly thinking over what I said. I give him a moment, but eventually he sighs deeply. It's not that simple. Why? Because I'm really not like that, Salem. I do like females. I want to suggest he might be bi, but he continues completely throwing off my train of thought. I'm just an idiot. I know I can be playful, but I took it a bit too far. I just wanted to distract you because you were so distressed, and I much rather had you flustered than in tears. So you just kissed me? I almost can't believe his words. Like, how's that even a solution? Oh, my friend is upset. I know he might be into me, so let me give him a pity kiss. I mock his logic. It wasn't like that. He subdues a growl. It's... The wolf sighs, struggling with wording his own thoughts. We both had too much to drink. So you never meant it. No, that's not what I'm saying. Again, he protests fervently. What are you saying then? It was a spur of the moment. I had no idea what I was doing until I actually did it. He gives his rash explanation. I can feel his rattled breath rocking the door back and forth. He's really distressed, and I decide to allow him some time to recollect his thoughts, listening to his strained huffs. I don't know. The wolf sighs in defeat. I'm so confused. You're a guy, and although I had feelings for a male before, I thought it was just a one-off. But even worse, you're human. That's gotta be messed up, no? As much as a revelation of his earlier infatuation surprises me, his crude assessment of our situation brings me back to earth. He isn't wrong. Even I question my attraction to him at times. This is a whole new level of what the hell am I even thinking kind of thing. Yeah, I get how you feel. I nod half-heartedly. Each time I'm reminded that you're a wolf, a part of me is screaming, what the fuck? I chuckle nervously. Right? He responds in a similar feigned amusement. I think it's your speech that does it to me. There's no language barrier and you sound like one of our own. Worse yet, talking to you is easier than to any other wolf I've ever met because you're an outsider. I don't have to worry about our customs or preconceptions. You just read me like an open book without any judgment. I feel like I can be myself around you and that you enjoy me for who I actually am. Not for who you want me to be. I've never felt like that before. I listen carefully as he tries to explain his feelings. Seems I was right. He was forced into a role his entire life, with watchful eyes dead set on him. One wrong move, one misplaced step, and you're booed off the stage. A failure. Poor wolf. I wipe away a tear. First that I have shed in this world for someone else. You're also the first decision I've made that I can stand by as truly my own. The fact I also saved your life makes me feel responsible and incredibly possessive. Sometimes it feels as if I imprinted on you in those woods. He exhales in resignation and I raise my brow. Imprinted? It doesn't matter, he mutters dismissively. Just know that to us wolves, being territorial around certain individuals is very much natural. And combined with everything else, it can easily seem like you are in love. It's messing with my head. Yeah, I could see why. I sigh in understanding. I can definitely relate to his confusion and reservations. My memory is lost and loneliness is triggering a lot of my need for intimacy with you. Not to mention you're the first and only friendly person I can remember. It makes me a little bit clingy. And then being forced into this proximity, with things getting as intense as they did at times. No wonder our emotions are all over the place. I can hear his amused scoff through the door. See? Even now you understand me. It's hard to keep level-headed around you. Right back at you. I laugh softly. But even if it is kind of rushed and weird, I really do enjoy our connection. The thing is I'm enjoying it as well. Maybe too much then is appropriate. He says with a serious tone, and I want to reassure him. I don't mind being close. I cannot lose you, Salem. He cuts me off, his voice cracking a little as he strains against his own emotions. He almost sounds desperate. Especially not now, when you're the closest thing to a true friend I have. What about Vol and Varissa? Don't get me wrong, I love them, I do, but I still have to put up a mask in front of them. I cannot show any weakness or blemishes. You're the only one who allows me to be the real me. And I'm not talking about my He cuts off and I smile, because he respected my earlier request. About my quirk. He's bi. Bisexual. You can't see, but there's like a huge smile on my face. Attaboy. Why would you think you could lose me? Because I already did lose someone once, by allowing things to go too fast. We just met, but I can see something special in you. A friendship worth 1,000 short-lived flings. Yeah, I think I understand what you mean. And just like that, he has proven once again that he's been more considerate than I ever have. I don't deserve this guy. Silence overtakes us, and neither know what to say. I suspect he's simply trying to plaster over another crack he allowed to form in his facade. But I remind myself that I need to give him time. He's made good on coming forward at just the right moments. So, I wait. 10, maybe 20 minutes, just admiring the white moon slowly setting over the now darkening sky. The night is at its thickest, which means dawn is not too far. I begin slowly dozing off, just listening to his rhythmic breathing on the other side of the doors. But then, a question stirs me up. Like a cold water slushed into my face. I might be making a fool out of myself, but I have to know. My skin even burns, as would be natural in such a scenario. Do you have feelings for me?
Unfortunately, Theta.exe has stopped working.
I hold my breath, almost certain my heart skipped a beat. I wasn't ready for this, and so wasn't my answer. I don't know. I might. I shrug, looking out the window in defeat. It's clear he did not expect my honesty. Really? I sigh. Everything's so muddled, Ranok. My thoughts race at such speeds that my mind cannot keep up. I idly poke my forehead. It's like a whirlpool of emotions up here, but I do feel something towards you. I can hear he struggles to contain a smile, his voice betraying a hopeful gleam. Something? I want to say love, but I'm not that naive. We barely just met, and as we both just agreed, our situation doesn't exactly make things clear. Yeah. But I won't lie to you. There's certain undeniable attraction there. He burrows deep in thought, causing my anxiety to spike. I might have been too honest. Don't worry, it's not another rejection. He mutters, again picking up on my heartbeat even from the adjacent room and drawing a reluctant laugh from me. Damn, his beastly ability is quite enticing at times, although presently my train of thought is a tad inappropriate. I also feel conflicting emotions regarding you. At first I thought I was just excited about my destiny finally unfolding, but the more I got to know you, the more I enjoyed your company. I started brushing it off to my loneliness, but now I don't know what's going on. He sighs heavily, taking another moment to collect his thoughts. This is completely new to me. I never connected with anyone like that, not even with wolves I pursued or grew up with. You are really dear to me. He insists, and the tone of his voice leaves no doubt about it. That's why I cannot risk fucking it up by misreading the situation. I laugh, completely embarrassed by how stupid I am. I keep measuring him with my own yardstick. What's so funny? I thought you were acting immature by bolting after the kiss. And yet again you proved that between the two of us, I am the one who's still a kid. That's what I love about you. He chuckles back, but I'm just stunned that he used that word. I inquire hesitantly. Cherish your childish naivety. You were clearly lucky enough to retain it. My people weeded out very early on. Well, you still put up a fight. He scoffs in amusement. I try. I take a deep breath and slowly get up to my feet. I place my hand on the handle and turn it, unlocking the doors with a soft clang. Ain't risking it. Okay, he's wearing pants. And this is a very hard scene. I swear to God, this is like so hard to look at. As I pull the wing away, I can see the wolf's back as he's seated on the floor in front of me. He reluctantly turns his head, meeting my gaze with a weary expression. I can't. I simply can't with this game. I can't. I can't. I can't with this game. His feelings and I don't appreciate it. This game is giving me feelings and I do not appreciate that one bit. I do not appreciate it. I extend my hand towards him, trying to give him courage to get up. At first he's reluctant, but then he smiles awkwardly. He grabs my hand but stands up on his own accord, just holding on to me for the sentiment's sake. Once he's up, he looks at me with concern. Hug? I open my arms awkwardly, inviting him to embrace me. Immediately I hear his tail swing as he nods with a barely contained smile. And just like that, the large furry form envelops me and I'm surrounded by the scent of the forest. Feels as if I'm rolling in the meadow again, his fur brushing against me akin to the grass. He holds me tight, secure in his embrace for a good few moments, but I don't mind. I simply surrender myself completely, melting into his form. I needed this, to feel safe and wanted. I'd just taken his warmth, really relieved that despite everything that happened tonight, our relationship wasn't damaged. In fact, despite our combined mishaps, I very much believe it was strengthened. He continues to keep me close, as if desperate to feel every inch of me pressed against his body, as if fearing I might disappear into the morning mist. My heart stumbles and I feel butterflies fill my stomach. He senses that slight shift and squeezes harder. He grabs my face gently with his paws, warm beams pressing against my cheeks, and slightly pushes away. His nose ventures close to my forehead, trailing my skin with its cold, wet tip. I stifle a giggle as it tickles, but then my eyes open wide as he reaches my cheek. There he plants a tender lick, his tongue barely grazing the surface of my skin. We lock our gazes and immediately pulls me back into his chest. Again, we stay like this for a while, until he eventually lets go of me. I think we both need some time to figure things out at our own pace and on our own terms. He mutters with a saddened voice, yet his expression remains quite determined. What do you mean? I respond in slight confusion. I have no doubt our feelings will clarify if we give ourselves some space. There was something I was meant to do, a scouting mission that would most likely take me away for a few days. What? I feel my heart sink. I did not expect this turn after such a tender moment. I put it off on your account, and Father simply decided to delegate this task to Tano at a later date. Aside from me not trusting his tracking abilities, this is urgent. As usual, Ranok picks up on my distress and takes firm hold of my shoulders. 2 of our packs are missing, and I was willing to brush them off for the sake of our little retreat from reality. But it wasn't fair. Not towards you, not towards me, and especially not towards the tribe. He looks into my eyes, and although it's hard to argue with his reasoning, its maturity is commendable. Even, I cannot help but feel betrayed. I know I said I wouldn't leave you, but if I am to be a chief one day, a good chief, I need to act like one. He insists, his ears falling flat, and I can see he wants this to be our joint decision. How petty would I have to be to inject myself into his line of duty? And despite how easily lulled I am into this weird need for intimacy, I agree that some time apart could help us get clarity. Half the time, I don't know what to feel anymore. No, I understand. Again, if it's that important. I mutter, but my voice must have been terribly unconvincing as a wolf sighs and pulls me in closer. If I'm to protect you, I cannot give them any reasons to undermine me. Most importantly, I cannot allow myself to unwittingly hurt you in the process as well. I think a few days apart will allow our emotions to cool down and settle. Then we will have a clearer view of what's actually going on between us. He smiles, planting another, this time more encouraging lick on my cheek, pulling on my skin teasingly in the process. I chuckle it off, pushing his muzzle away. I'm not going to lie, being left here alone does scare me a bit, but I also know you're right. I nod. You won't be alone. I'll ask Vol and Varissa to take care of you. That actually sounds fun, I mutter half-heartedly. You're a terrible liar. I know, but I really am keen on spending more time with them. It's just going to be strange to find myself without you. Indeed, he's the only constant I've known since I woke up. More the reason to rip off that bandage, huh? Yeah. I chuckle, this time with genuine amusement. I cannot always expect him to be at my side, and with the week nearly gone by, it's about time I've started acting more independently. Good. He sighs in relief, finally content my mood has stabilized. I will go and see my father at dawn. I'll also get Vol and Varissa here. We can have breakfast together. He proposes through a smile. You'd like that, wouldn't you? I nod with enthusiasm. A joint meal sounds actually fun. Also, it's about time we got you dressed. I didn't forget my promise. He winks, walking towards the bed, and I smile. Considerate to a fault. I guess it only proves I should trust him more when it comes to my own well-being. He'd never want to harm me. I'm more certain about that than ever before. He pulls on the blankets and pats the bed. Night is nearly gone, but I think we should still try and salvage whatever is left of our sleep. I agree and approach the bed, slowly sinking into the linen. I place myself comfortably, but as the wolf tucks me in, my expression turns. You're not going back to the kitchen, are you? Huh? He seems rather troubled, trailing his gaze between the bed and the doors. I thought that we decided to take some time apart. Yes, but you haven't left yet. I try not to sound too desperate, but my pleading leaves no doubt about my state of mind. Ain't risking it. If you are to go away, I'd rather spend what little time we have together. He smiles in understanding. You know what? I feel the same way. He mutters as he crawls onto the bed. I blush as he clambers over me, his chest directly over my face. I feel flushed, and it's hard not to pull him closer, but he simply rolls playfully over to the other side. We lock our awkward gazes for a moment until he mimics my earlier gesture and spreads out his arms. Hug? I thought you wouldn't ask. I chuckle, snuggling deep into his chest. If this is the last night together for some to come, I'd rather spend it deep inside his fluff. He laughs off my eagerness and embraces me softly as I listen to his thumping tail. Friends or lovers, I have no idea which, nor do I care at this point. I just enjoy being held by someone I feel I can completely trust and who trusts me in turn. Feeling his warmth once again is all I could have wished for after tonight's fiasco. His gentle breath helps me calm my emotions even further until I return to that sweet, sweet, blissful nothingness. I open my tired eyes to see the sun already out in full swing. After my nightly escapade, getting up is a bit of a challenge, but feeling that the wolf isn't next to me causes my heart to race. I jump out of the bed in panic, fearing he has left without saying goodbye. As I rush into the kitchen, I am met with the sight of the wolf setting up the table for 4. Aww. He even brought the chair from the porch to complete the set. Again, as it is his custom by now, even when having extra duties to attend to, he allows me to rest while he takes care of the morning prep. I sigh through a smile, looking at him with feigned annoyance. You should have woken me up. Well, you are a terrible liar. He scoffs. I know you were out of the house. Did Varissa tell on me? I snicker, pulling up a chair and taking a seat. That too, but I could also smell the woods and grass on your skin. Nothing escapes you, huh? Nope, you'd better get used to that. He winks while I look towards the hearth. He hasn't built the fire yet, and I wonder if he needs some help. Want me to prepare the food? We're not making a fry-up today. Too many people for that. Besides, Varissa likes lighter meals in the morning. Oh, what are we having then? I ask Vol to bring some cold meats and cheese. Vither provided fresh bread. He points to a basket with soft rolls. I can smell their yeasty, wholemeal aroma even here. That sounds absolutely delightful. I watch as the wolf fills up 4 tankards one by one. Despite the ale not being my favorite of drinks, I'm looking forward to unwinding with the 3 alphas. My, what a company indeed. He sets the mug in front of the chairs, placing mine next to my hand. I smile and nod in gratitude, really happy to see things go back to normal. Actually, maybe even better than normal as I breathe the newfound air of honesty between us. Ranok sits himself down in front of me, smiling and taking an idle sip. I follow his suit, although certain that drinking before noon would be frowned upon back where I come from. The wolf slides his paw towards me, his claws gently scraping the wooden table. He tilts it to the side, revealing another freshly picked dandelion. As a keepsake while I'm gone, he explains. I smile softly, taking the flower in my hands. If you keep it in fresh water, it should last a week. I nod. This will be a useful reminder that I still have a friend, if nothing else. So, did you rest well? More than I could have hoped for. More than I could have hoped so. I sigh, barely containing a smile. Good. I'm glad we were able to clear things up. Oh God, yes! I nod eagerly. We just take idle sips from time to time, not saying much, and the silence is slowly becoming awkward. I can see he's mulling over something, his uncomfortable expression betraying a rather pervasive thought. What is it? I ask, trying to nudge him. There's one more thing we haven't discussed, but I couldn't find the right time. Or the right words. I smile at him teasingly. I'd say you've done great strides simply saying what's on your mind. Yes, but this is slightly awkward. More awkward than the heart-to-heart we just had? He nods reluctantly, and I must admit, he has piqued my curiosity. Eventually, he simply sighs and stands up, approaching me with a hesitant gaze. It threatens to undo all that we managed to fix, so please keep an open mind about it. He pulls out a leather strap from behind his back, and I look at it confused. It has a metal buckle on it, resembling a very short belt. What's this? You have to wear it on the next time you leave the house, he says with a slightly averse tone, passing me the item, and I immediately realize what it actually is. I have to wear a collar? I exclaim, choking on my drink. Yeah. Okay, what's going on? Ranok's ears pull back, and I can see his grimace deepen. Remember when I told you that you were released into my custody? I just nod, narrowing my eyes. You said I'm your ward. Well, yes, but it also means you're my attendant now. What? I snap, raising to my feet and squaring off with him. It was one of the conditions of your stay. So that's why Trist is so pissed at me. Trist doesn't matter. Of course he does. I'm not taking his job. I cut him off with an angered stare. He's right. With this little stunt, he's very much undoing all that we just managed to patch up. It wasn't his to begin with. He responds equally sternly. He was thrusted upon me like everything else in my life. My father wanted to show the others that I can be responsible, because having a ward is a sign of great respect. But I couldn't stand the guy. He was always silently skulking about, giving me funny looks as if judging me. Welcome to the club, I smirk ironically. Either way, I'm not going to be your attendant, whatever the hell that means. I shove the collar back into his paws and march off towards the windowsill. I lean into it, looking at the trees and trying to calm myself down. He's simply killing two birds with one stone. He gets to keep his path and get a more palatable attendant all in one go. What do I get? I get to be paraded around with a collar around my neck like a damned pet. What a joke! I'm so angry. The wolf sighs heavily while I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it gets increasingly hard. I can hear Ranok place the collar down onto the table and fidget nervously with his cloak. This is not a choice, Salem. The tribe demands it. He mutters quietly, as if really made unhappy by the predicament. You won't have to do anything, it's just for show. He mutters pleadingly. I'm not a fucking dog. Nothing's going to change, I promise, but without it you cannot go outside. His voice takes on a more desperate tone, but I remain defiant. This is a complete indignation. I'm not wearing it. Well, it's either that or... He cuts off, clearly uncomfortable with what's to follow. Or what? I finally turn around to face him, and the wolf winces. I'll have to mark you. Mark me? As in what, brand me like cattle? Immediately, I'm reminded of Trist's dumb barcode tattoo. Was that a mark he speaks of? What? No. He sounds almost offended by the insinuation. You'll just have to wear my scent. Am I not already? I splay out my arms, hinting at his musk covering me head to toe. That's when Tana's remark hits me. He doesn't smell like your ward. My eyes widen in terror as I realize how canines mark their territory. Oh God, no! I cover my face, completely mortified by the implication. He flinches in embarrassment at my realization and looks away. Don't even say what I think you're about to say. That's why I went with the collar instead. I just stand there, dumbfounded that he would even suggest pissing on me as if I were a tree. I fucking can't. I can't. I can't. Hang on, let me just... I can't. I fucking can't with this game. What the hell did I get myself into? He avoids looking in my direction, and although I am incredibly infuriated by this nonsensical situation, it's clear it makes him at least in part as uncomfortable as it makes me. I close my eyes, trying to remember that he hasn't done anything deliberately malicious towards me. And considering our conversation from just a few hours ago, I should place more faith in his goodwill. He's just playing a part in a bigger play, and it's my part, and my best chance is to follow his lead. I need to control my knee-jerk reactions and show him some trust. I take a deep breath, looking at his worried muzzle, and sigh. I've trusted you thus far, I mutter, albeit still begrudgingly, and approach the table. I grab the leather collar and look at it closely. Despite trying to do so with cynicism, I cannot help but admire the exquisite craftsmanship. It's quite well made, embroidered edges with a soft suede padding on the inner side as to not bruise the skin. The buckle is also beautifully crafted, with a woven paw embossed in the middle of a full moon. I had it made just for you, true silver with my emblem on it. This will ensure no one messes with you while I'm gone. And just like that, I'm reminded he's simply looking out for me, even if a bit heavy-handedly. This is ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. I grumble, trying to put the damn thing on. I still want him to know that I am not enjoying this, even if an odd part of my mind tried to sidetrack me. This is not kinky. Not in the context, at least. My dude, we don't kink shame around these parts. Will I have to serve at the feast then? I huff, finally fastening the thing in place. It fits rather snug. The wolf looks back at me and his ears perk up at my reluctant concession. No, that won't be the case. You're an attendant, not a servant. I'm sorry if the distinction is lost on me. You're supposed to keep sure that my personal needs are met, that's all. Whatever that means. So, I will be able to dine with you? Oh yes, attendants are kind of like a professional companion. A silent companion, since they're not supposed to speak. That never hampered friendships to foster between a ward and his warden. Depends on what you're looking for in a friend. I mumble. So far it seems wolves value subservience and obedience, both easily achieved in a mute companion. Yes, granted your ability to speak our tongue is a perk. He nods with satisfaction, picking up on my train of thought. But that just makes us friends with benefits. I erupt in laughter at how apt an assessment this really is. I huddle next to the table, trying to contain my laughing fit. Personal needs, indeed. Salem, would you mind giving me a hand? I make a crude shaking hand gesture while laughing. This has to be the funniest thing he has said to date. What's so funny? Just the way you phrased it. I wave at him, trying to compose myself. My, what a way to cut the tension. I half wonder if it was intentional, judging by the return of his confident smile. Looks good on you. He tries to be teasing and I decide to play along. It would look even better on you. I'm afraid it wouldn't fit. Yes, your neck is quite fat. It's not fat. He scoffs in feigned ignorance. It's just fluff. He raises his brow proudly and I nod with a smile, picking up on my tankard. I wet my lips with amusement, looking love-struck at the wolf again. It's really hard to keep a level head around him. Some time apart will help us temper our emotions. My thoughts go out to the funny bunny, whose grudge against me becomes now more understandable. Trist had a place at the table, and now thanks to me, he has to serve it. I mutter idly. I'm just trying to understand his annoyance. As your attendant, he had a cushy life, which I've taken away from him. That may be, but I never took Trist to the feast. The wolf protests through a scoff, his voice almost mocking. He's just a rabbit. And he might just as well have punched me. What did you say? My stunned reaction caused him to reconsider his words, and I can see his flirty demeanor change into panic. I mean, like I'm just a human, right? I interrupt, looking at him with clear disappointment. By the moon, Salem. He finally snaps in annoyance. Are we really going to do this every time we talk? Do what? Bicker. I can't stand it. You're just like Varissa, always on my case. I'm not the bad guy here. I'm not saying you are, but you're not exactly a Prince Charming either. I'm not a prince. Obviously not. No wonder Trist is seething. If Ranok was dismissive of the bunny, seeing me showered with attention must be aggravating. If he bothers you so much, I'll have him dismissed from the tribe. He stifles a growl, and it makes me slightly worried. I might have had a bad run-in with the rabbit, but I don't want him banished, especially now when we both hold each other's secret. What? I can't believe my ears. I thought you were different. I don't understand your issue here. You say he bothers you, so I'm happy to get rid of him. He's not the problem here. You are. A soft knock stops our argument as we both lock startled gazes with the door. Am I interrupting something? Perfect timing. We fall silent, exchanging looks and both taking a deep breath. No. Ranok finally calls out, clearly relieved by this distraction. For once, you're my saving grace. Or coup de grace. I scoff, watching as the wolf walks up to open the door. Varissa enters the cabin, bearing a white garment draped over her arms. Your heated argument could have been heard all the way from the path. She looks at us with annoyance. At this rate, Tano and Trist are the least of our concerns. If your bickering continues, the whole village will learn the human speaks by tomorrow. Don't worry, I still plan to leave. The wolf grumbles and looks at me with a hurt expression. I guess we both allowed our emotions to take the lead. And I'm being judgy again. Good. I think some distance is warranted after being forced into such tight quarters. Indeed. His voice is cold, and I feel saddened that we allow things to spiral this far. Right, both of you, get rid of those frowns. She touches Ranok's chin, softly lifting his muzzle. I didn't come all the way here to breakfast with 3 voles. 1 is quite enough. The gray wolf smiles, and I also try to muster one. I hope that'll do. She ruffles the cloth in her arm. That's all I've been able to scrounge up on such short notice. Scrounge up? This is quite exquisite. The wolf exhales, running his paw through the delicate fabric. I look with curiosity, seeing how the sun reflects and glimmers on the cloth's surface, as Varissa sprawls it over the table. In all fairness, I am glad to be finally rid of it. Rid of it? Why haven't you worn it? Oh, don't you start as well. She smacks her lips in annoyance, looking towards me. She immediately locks onto the collar and smiles. I see you've got him to wear it. Good. You knew about this? I almost sound accusatory. Of course, to be fair, you not wearing it yesterday wasn't lost on the gathered. You mean they couldn't immediately assume I'm part of the livestock? If you choose to see it that way. She shrugs. Now, up on a chair. The female points as she drags one of the middle of the room. I nod reluctantly and jump on, trying to steady myself. Varissa passes me the garment, and I'm immediately surprised how soft it is to the touch. Put that on. It's a dress. I frown, finally seeing how it unfurls all the way down to my ankles. My, getting sharper with every passing day. That's not exactly what I had in mind. I throw an uncomfortable gaze to Ranok. First the collar, now this. What did you have in mind? The wolf asks impatiently, which makes me realize I might have sounded a little ungrateful. In all honesty, I don't know what I expected. A pair of jeans and a t-shirt, perhaps? Yeah, good luck explaining that. Thought so. Ranok scoffs teasingly, and I simply pull the dress over my head. I watch it drop freely, covering my body nicely, but it feels so strange to be dressed like this. Right, because you're so short, I'll have to fold up the bottom. The female wastes no time pulling and tugging at different parts of the fabric, readjusting it to a new proposed height. Should it go below or above the knees? She looks up to me, but I'm not exactly sure. Ranok? She throws to the wolf, requesting a second opinion with a playful tone. Why are you asking me that? I don't care. I couldn't help but chuckle at how flustered he got, but when her gaze drills back into me, I share his awkwardness. I don't know. Well, if you don't want it to look like a dress, I'd say above. Then it can pass off as a tunic. I nod with a little conviction in my voice. Relax, no one will even bat an eye. Besides, you've got good knees. Why cover them? She winks and I blush slightly, especially since I notice that the sleeves are cut open, with just 2 golden pins holding them together, not to mention how deep the neckline is. What about the top? Isn't it a bit too revealing? I'm not a damned seamstress. I'm going to shorten the base, but that's about all I can do. Can we at least get rid of this? I ruffle a long piece of blue cloth draped around my shoulders. It's sewn into the attire. Why would you want it gone anyway? You have no fur, and the dress itself won't keep you any warmer. How's this flimsy, dangling piece of cloth going to change that? I pull on the bit that cascades down the right of my back. It's a shawl, doubling as a cloak if you throw it over your shoulder. It makes me look rather effeminate. I mumble uncomfortably, causing her to laugh. Oh, the horror. She gives a taunting gaze to Ranok, who's been quite smitten with my appearance up to this point. Why are you looking at me? The female shakes her head and returns to regard me, putting 2 needles into her muzzle. Instead of complaining, you should be happy that you don't have to parade yourself naked anymore. Now you'll be clad in pure tigery silk and Commission cotton. Commission, as in Egypt? They both blink and Varissa looks to Ranok in confusion. He's been doing that a lot, throwing random words around. She mumbles, looking back at me with a risen brow while struggling to pull up the dress. Commission, as in Kemet. I assume it's far away. You assume well. She nods through a smile, placing the needles into the fabric to secure the new baseline. It's on the other side of the globe, so this here, my friend, is a royal gift. She stands up, admiring her handiwork. Not too shabby. She nods in satisfaction and pulls out of her bag a glistening golden belt. Here, put it on. I reluctantly pick it up from her paws. It looks awfully expensive, with each segment connected to the other on a tiny hinge and a large blue gemstone set in the buckle. I drag it across my waist, pulling the dress closer to my figure. Once a click announces the belt is secure, I brush my hands across the fabric to straighten it out. My, now you look the part. You mean the part of a noble, right? I mumble awkwardly, causing the wolves to laugh. Okay, give us a turn. She claps her hands in excitement, almost like what your best girlfriend would do when seeing you in her borrowed dress. How does it feel? Oddly enough, it fits me perfectly. I smile. The garb is quite comfortable and airy, not to mention the silk just caresses my skin in an extremely sensual way. You got a figure for it, isn't that right, Ranok? Don't be ridiculous. Mm-hmm, ridiculous, am I? She draws my attention to the wolf's idle tail flicks, and I cannot contain a laugh. Just give it a rest. How much do I owe you? It was a gift, so I pass it forward. The female shrugs dismissively. I try to get down from the chair, assuming my posing is now done, but Ranok approaches me to lend his paw. A gift? From whom? He asks, his attention fixed on the she-wolf, meaning he doesn't notice my blush at his gentlemanly gesture. Vol. She exhales heavily, now drawing my attention as well. He wasted all his money on it during his first visit to Strandbard. We were 16, I think. It was meant as a part of his courtship. Aw, that's kinda sweet. She winces uncomfortably, not really sharing my sentiment. Vol? Shit, he's not going to like this. In that case, he can wear it himself, because I sure as Moonrise won't. Why ever not? Do I look like a female that prances around in silk dresses? She asks mockingly, and I wince through a smile. No. Either way, I only kept it out of respect for his hard work. It's nice to see something good coming out of it. She ruffles my hair as a loud knocking resonates through the door. And speak of the devil. Damn, my luck, seems the perfect time for my egress was a few moments ago. I don't suppose we could pretend we're not in. We were supposed to eat together? Sorry, we were supposed to eat together, Ranok frowns. That was before I decided to get rid of the stress. You think it's going to be that bad? It's going to be a shit show. I had hoped we could present Salem in that dress out in the open, where Vol couldn't make a scene. A fait accompli. I nod, trying to ease the tension. Yes. She stutters, looking at me in confusion. Whatever that means. Another, this time more impatient knock shakes the door. Ranok, I know you're in there. Varissa extends her paw towards the gray wolf, halting him from answering. I watch as he walks past me, heading to the bedroom. Salem, be a darling and grab me some moonshine. I'll need more than ale to get through this spectacle. I nod and rush to the cupboard while Ranok looks to her expectantly by the door. Once she has the bottle in her paws, she recedes deeper into the adjacent room, moving completely out of sight. That's when Ranok finally lets Vol in, while I situate myself beside the hearth. The black wolf marches in impatiently, bearing a linen parcel in his paws. Finally, what took you so long? Right, I have what you asked for. There's some jerky, smoked sausage, and cheese. He pauses, placing the bundle down while his blood-red irises center on me. I can see them immediately shrink as he narrows his brows in anger. What are you doing in that? Take it off. His growl thunders across the kitchen and I wince. Varissa gave it... I stumble back as he rushes towards me with paws extended in a frightening fashion, fingers feathered out with claws ready to sink into my flesh. Take it off, now. I slump into the wall, running out of the room to retreat into. The wolf slams his paws on either of my sides, causing the cottage to shake as he effectively corners me. His snarling muzzle lowers to my face and I begin to shiver, noticing his every muscle tensed up in anticipation. Yes, I nod, my voice still slightly cracking as my prey mentality kicks in at the sight of his jagged fangs so close to my throat. I can see his nostrils expand with each agitated huff of air and I close my eyes, almost as if wishing him away. Vol. Ranok finally steps in, trying to push him away as I struggle to get the dress off. When I grab the rim, I accidentally prick myself on one of the needle and jump up. Ah! I said take it off or so help me. He interrupts, hearing Ranok's own growl at his threat. This redirects Vol's attention to the other wolf, as he throws him an angered gaze. I'm taking it back to her. He's not taking it off, and I'm not taking it back. The bedroom door opens and Varissa walks in with clear annoyance on her muzzle. She bangs the clay bottle on the table and squares off with the black male, almost looking ready for a fight. At first, Vol stumbles slightly, shocked that she's actually present, only to huff in annoyance and regard me with the same anger as before. I said, take it off. Her finger points to me commandingly. Don't you dare. I swallow and simply stay still. I spend my days in the den of vigil, tending to the sick and the wounded. I cauterize cuts and mend open fractures, most of the time drenched in someone's blood. I don't have a need for a silk dress. She stands defiantly, looking at the male with disdain I haven't yet seen from her. I don't care what you do. You can make into a floor rag for your wish, but that thing is not wearing... Enough! The female growls, slamming her fist into the table, causing the tankards in the bottle to dance. Although very much feral, her growl is still surprisingly melodic. For crying out loud, we are not your betas to be ordered around, Vol. So hold your tongue. My eyes are wide open as I have never heard her snarl so viciously before. Ugh, you have both lost your fucking minds. Treating that thing like it's a person? Downright perverse. You yourself treated him with respect at the feast. Ranok tightens his fists, slowly losing his own patience. Vol finally pulls away from me, throwing his massive paws around in annoyance. That's because someone was causing that little bitch to weep for mommy's tit. Since neither of you are going to keep him pacified, I had to step in to avoid us all getting banished. Are you quite finished, or should I come back later once your temper tantrum is wore off? She finally subdues her growl, looking at him with clearly waning patience. I never wore it, nor would I ever. It's a good thing it has some use now. You're even giving away the belt? It's a sapphire set in pure gold. He spits out. He has to tie up his waist somehow. A piece of rope would suffice. Vol, don't be ridiculous. This is pure silk. Yes, your silk. I'll pay you back for this. Ranok tries to place a paw on his friend's shoulder, but Vol brushes it off. You're insane. This is worth a royal ransom. Doesn't matter. You would squander such fortune on a fucking pig in a dress? Now it's Ranok who snarls, struggling not to bear his fangs at his friend. I'd gladly pay any money to make a friend happy and comfortable, wouldn't you? That question causes Vol to pause, his wild red eyes darting between each of us. That thing's a friend now? Yes, he is. Another subdued growl resonated deep in Ranok's chest, and it's clear he's slowly losing patience. Vol huffs like a locomotive, making my heart race, as I'm convinced they're going to fight once again. But eventually, he simply sighs through a soft growl. Ugh, I don't want your fucking money. It was a gift for her. He waves his paw between me and Varissa. If she wants to throw it away on some moon-damned pig... Vol, that is enough. You're hurting him. I haven't touched that little wimp. He snarls at her reprimand, seemingly set off once again. You're the one cradling it with Ranok like a pair of den mothers. Although I expected another spat to erupt, she simply looks at him dumbfounded, only to sign resignation and shake her head. Unbelievable. She mutters, approaching the doors. Why do I think you can ever change? You're a damned animal, Vol, to lash out on him like that. I haven't laid a single claw on him. Sometimes words cut just as deep, if not deeper. Wait, where are you going? Anywhere, where I don't have to look at his snarling muzzle. She opens the doors while Ranok points to the half-undone dress. Don't worry, I'll come back to finish it later. Once he's not around. She nods towards the black male. What about the breakfast? Enjoy. I've lost my appetite. As she closes the doors behind her, an awkward silence falls over the room. I just stand there, huddled to my corner, really afraid to move, while Ranok gives Vol a hurtful and patronizing gaze. What? What did I do? Good job, brother. As always, you know how to push everyone away. I try not to look directly at the Black Wolf, but I notice Ranok walk past him towards the doors. He opens them and looks sternly at his friend. You're kicking me out? I want to eat our meal in peace, and I need to think. You kind of fucked up my plan a little. Ranok huffs in annoyance. Your plan? I was going to ask Varissa to take care of Salem while I'm away. Vol's red irises drill into me, and I divert my gaze. I feel like a kid who just witnessed a massive fight between his parents. I really don't know what to do. Let me take care of it. What? Ranok scoffs, resounding my own surprise in closing the doors. I can look after the piglet. After the stunt you just pulled? You must be joking. I didn't hurt him, nor would I. I'd much rather have Varissa do it. Yeah, so would I, actually. And just like that, I remembered her earlier offer. Varissa said I could move in with her. I mutter, my voice still faint and low. It's not that simple. The Grey Wolf frowns. I'm glad she offered to accommodate you, but I'm sure she meant it as a last resort. Why? You can't just move in with someone else. You are my ward. Ranok looks at me apologetically. Only way to change accommodation would be if he dismissed you or if his father would transfer you to another wolf. Former would leave a blemish on you. The later would leave a blemish on me. Neither an optimal outcome in our current situation. A blemish? A dismissed ward is proven inadequate, which very much affects their standing, while a wolf that had their ward taken away from them is proven incapable and irresponsible. Another reason why Trist is so pissed then. He was dismissed without a valid reason and now has to live with the consequences, whatever they are. You'll have to deal with some alone time, kid. He still needs someone around. Ranok insists, to which Vulgor shrugs. I'll look in on him from time to time. He needs more than looking in on Vol. Salem is in a fragile state. Ha! As opposed to what? His sturdy one? The Black Wolf scoffs mockingly. See, this is exactly why I know it's a bad idea. Oh, for fuck's sake, Ranok. Since that human showed up, you can't even handle a damned tease. Because this isn't a joke, he states sternly, his eyes betraying he's no longer entertaining his friend's provocations. Salem is not to be dicked around. He suffered immense trauma, goes through moon knows what levels of stress while being cooped up in here on top of the amnesia he has to contend with. Being left alone with his thoughts is the last thing he needs. What's required here is a companion, not a bully. The Grey Wolf huffs in annoyance. Vol just stands there, thinking for a moment while his gaze darts between me and Ranok. Eventually, he sighs heavily. Ugh, very well. I'll take him under my wing. He won't be left alone for a moment. What? Ranok seems completely shocked by the suggestion, while I'm trying to figure out what it actually means. You would really do that? Yes, really. He responds mockingly. I want to prove to Varissa that I'm not a dumb brute. So that's what it's about. The wolf looks to Vol with disappointment. I knew it. You don't give two shits about... Exactly. I don't. Vol interrupts him through a soft growl. The human is your obsession, not mine. All I care about is you and her, so you can trust me when I say I won't fuck it up. Sorry if I find it hard to believe at the moment. You nearly tackled him over a damned dress. I gave it to her! This time his growl is not as subtle. I can see Vol's fur bristle in barely contained anger. All those years, she never wore it, not once. Seeing her throwing it away was almost as if she spat in my muzzle. How would you feel if Cora treated you like this? The wolf seems to be caught off guard by the question, as if it came out of nowhere. Who's Cora anyway? I'm so confused, especially seeing Ranok completely stumped. You wouldn't know, would you? Because you always get what you want. Every female and defective male this side of Turnen wants a piece of the dream wolf. Vol scoffs mockingly, looking at Ranok's growing discomfort. See? Considering the circumstances, I think I kept my composure well enough. Besides, I made a promise. He reiterates, tugging at his moonstone. Or does that really mean fuck all to you, and you think I would maul him just because I got slightly annoyed? Of course not. Hang on, my phone's like being dumb. But I really believe Varissa's better suited for this. Varissa has enough shit to deal with without you smearing yours all over her. Vol huffs dismissively, walking towards the table and taking a seat. She needs to keep her distance from this whole mess, especially now with the elders agitated as it is. I don't like this. Ranok mutters and also pulls up a chair, bidding me to do the same. I guess the emotions simmered down to the point where I don't need to act like a deer staring into the headlights. Getting some work done will be good for him. Vol nods towards me as I take my seat. He'll learn a skill and start chipping away at his... No. The Grey Wolf cuts off, giving him a knowing gaze. Not now. I blink, not keen on being left out. Chipping away at my what? It doesn't matter. Ranok tries to dismiss me, causing Vol to raise his brow. He's talking out of his ass. I'm talking out of my... Vol sneers, narrowing his eyes. You didn't even tell him, did you? Wow, and I'm the asshole? Vol... The Grey Wolf sounds almost pleading, but the black male seems to have none of it. What are you doing, you idiot? He's not a toy, nor your pet to kill time with. Tell him the fucking truth as he deserves to hear it. What truth? I finally pitch in, staring at them with growing annoyance. Vol just gives a look to Ranok, who winces uncomfortably. As the silence protracts, I just gawk at him until he sighs. Ugh, I wanted to wait for a better moment. A better moment? He means he hoped he could weasel out of the deal. The Black Wolf explains mockingly, seeing Ranok's hesitation. Well, it ain't gonna happen. Not the elders, not even his father would ever forego your obligations. That's just not how things work. He gives Ranok a patronizing gaze. My obligations? Again, the wolf sighs heavily, clearly uncomfortable with the conversation. Any other kin who stays with us incurs a debt. I thought you don't allow other kin into the forest. We don't. Vol nods. But there are those who are born in Turnin. The Sylvan folk? I conclude. Yes. We allow them to live in our territory, and in turn they have to provide tribute. He explains casually, looking over a mug of ale. A tribute? Coin, raw materials, but usually it's foodstuffs. As you could see, we don't grow much here. At first I try to think of it as taxes, but the more I think about it, the more I realize it's much, much worse than that. I feel slightly uncomfortable with the idea of these wolves living off of what pretty much amounts to an extortion. When the Sylvan folk cannot pay their tribute, they have to provide us with wards as a sort of retainer. Hostages. I state bluntly. This conversation has taken quite a turn. Your word, not mine. I don't even know how to respond to that. You're both being overdramatic. Vol scoffs at us. They simply have to repay the debt their people incurred by not fulfilling their tributary obligations. You mean all those bunnies here are indentured servants? Well, it's a bit crude way of putting it. What other way would you put it? I snap, causing Ranok to wince. It's better than it sounds. How is it better? At least one step above slavery better, I suppose. The Black Wolf rolls his eyes, downing his mug of ale. So what, you own me? More like you owe the tribe for saving your life. I'm just to make sure you work it off. I didn't ask for any of this. You still live with us. You're being sheltered and fed. Oh my god. I slap my forehead in annoyance. How did I not see this coming? In your defense, Ranok is a professional muddler. He loves dancing around the truth. Not helpful. Ranok throws him a stern gaze. Vol seems to be enjoying this little spat, but I'm not in the mood for teasing. I think it is. I mean, you did tell him you want to take him back home. How are you going to do that if he won't start pulling his share? I listen carefully, watching their respective expressions. What do you mean? I ask, even though I fear I know the answer. His memory hasn't even come back yet. The Grey Wolf protests. Even if it would this very moment, he won't be allowed to leave, not until he pays off his due. My due? I was dying! I almost shout out, barely containing my growing frustration. It's like the U.S. Health Service. It'll bleed you dry while trying to save you. We're a highly meritocratic society. Nothing is handed out here. I had hoped we'd avoid this conversation altogether if you realized it on your own. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize earlier that I'm being enslaved. How silly of me. I roll my eyes in disbelief he'd pinned this on me. That's not what I meant. I just wanted to give it time. He looks angrily to Vol. But someone had to push it. Don't look at me. I saw the collar. Better to rip the bandage off. Vol shrugs and a short moment of silence falls over the room. I'm buried in my thoughts, unable to believe how duped I was by this whole setup. As angry as I want to be, I have to admit there were a lot of signs all pointing in this direction. But I just had faith that my worst predictions aren't true. You okay? I would say I'm livid, but I'm actually too stunned for that. I mutter, not even regarding him. As the silence continues, I notice Ranok's impatience grow. Eventually, he just snaps and bangs his paws on the table. Can you just go? He throws Vol an angry stare. You keep making everything worse. Worse? You're such a fucking hypocrite. You're such fucking hypocrites. The black male scoffs through a sneer. You both shit on me for being blunt while you two are simple... Not gonna say it. What do you want about? My eyes dart between their growling muzzles. Do you think Varissa gives a flying fuck about this human whelp? He asks mockingly. She only entertains this charade because if she pulls it off, she'll secure her position as a shaman forever after. And don't get me started on you, you self-righteous asshole. All you really need this human for is to prove to everyone what a perfect little chief you would make, how the ancestors themselves anointed you and your master plan. Change. Vol huffs, rolling his eyes. You wouldn't know change if it hit you in your muzzle. Vol. Ranok's expression twists into a snarl as his entire body tenses. Please, at least I have the decency to not manipulate that gullible idiot like you do. My heart begins to race, but it's not fear this time. This time it's annoyance that yet again I'm being caught between their stupid spats. And as much as Vol makes some valid points, he's the last one to speak. You did manipulate me. I shout out at him, causing them both to gaze at me in surprise. At the feast, I thought... I try to be calm, but my emotions whirl in the wrong direction and my eyes gloss. I thought you liked me. I thought we were becoming friends. Ranok's softened expression proves that my hurt is clearly painted over my face, but Vol is not receptive to it. Instead, he gives me a nasty look, one of those he hasn't given me since the day he stabbed me. Friends? What do you think this is, a den tale? I barely know you, kid. All I did was to keep you from fucking us over with your spiraling emotions. Seriously, are you that desperate for attention and approval? He sneers and I've had enough. I stand up and bang the table, looking at him angrily through tears. In case you forgot, I don't have my fucking memory. No family or friends to speak of. I don't have anyone, it's just me and nothing else. So yes, forgive me if I seek friends wherever I can. As I stand there with my rattled breath half expecting Vol to lash out again, I'm met with something unexpected, a stunned expression. Vol sits still, trying hardest to look unmoved, but it's quite evident my little rant made him quite uncomfortable. Heh, who's a fucking hypocrite now? Ranok looks at him with begrudging satisfaction. I have half a mind to tell him off, but I'm done with this shit show. I just slump back into my seat, crossing my arms and looking towards the window. Bacon, eggs, and toast. A wolf lover. I'm such a moron thinking I'm in some fairy tale B&B. I scoff at the dumb analogy. Even in a B&B, you have to pay for the bill in the end. Ugh, I need a drink. Vol finally breaks the silence, sinking deeper into his seat and causing the chair to squeak. Ranok pushes a tankard towards his friend, not saying anything, but Vol brushes it aside. Not that weak piss, I need something stronger for this headache. Black Wolf scoffs and reaches for the clay bottle. Again, he removes the cork with a satisfying pop and takes a long, deep series of gulps, most likely downing half of the contents in one go. He then sits back heavily, rubbing his muzzle and placing the bottle on the table. The piglet has to stay here. You know I'm right. He mutters, looking to Ranok with a serious expression. The Grey Wolf sits there troubled, eventually turning to face me with a risen brow as if to gauge my opinion. Don't look at me. You own me, remember? I respond snarkily. I don't have a choice in the matter. Salem. The wolf mutters apologetically. Don't Salem me. Not only do I have to wear a collar, but now I also have to be forced to But now I also have to do forced labor. Those are just details. Pretty fucking important details if you ask me, which you didn't. I mean, why would you? People don't ask their furniture for an opinion. Here. Vol slides the bottle towards me and I simply sigh. Fuck it, I'm so angry at this point that I might as well just take a deep swig. That's why I made you my attendant. This way you can say you're doing your job while you don't have to lift a finger. Trist never really had to do any work around here. And you think nobody noticed? Vol scoffs, reaching back for the bottle. Look how much good that did to him. His debt is nowhere near paid. Again, could you just... Oh yes, sorry. Wouldn't want to upset the furniture. He winks at me. I cannot help but smile at the remark. I take a deep breath and sigh heavily. This is fucking ridiculous. I woke up in this damned house, got choked to near death by a massive wolf, then stabbed by said wolf, only to learn that I'm now a slave. A ward. A slave. I insist, giving him a stare that would leave no doubt that I'm not going to play semantics. A slave who now owes the tribe for not being murdered on sight. And all of this within a week. A hell of a week. Vol raises the bottle to take a long swig of their feigned toast. What's next? Well, there's always the possibility we'll get found out and you'll be imprisoned and hanged. Perfect. I shake my head. Give me that. Ranok snaps, pulling the bottle from Vol's paws and downing a thirsty gulp. Anyway, I'll take care of Piglet. If he's with me, Tana will stay the fuck away. Yeah, he's one of my worries. I can handle myself. I cut off, seeing Vol giving me a rather mocking gaze, obviously hinting at my conduct at the feast. I know I messed up, but I better have a bearing now. Now they both give me doubtful looks. Look, had Ranok not... The Grey Wolf's eyes widen in fear, and I realize I cannot actually explain our little jealousy game. Had Ranok not what? Well, you know, I mumble, trying to backpedal. You said it yourself, he can act like a fool. Yeah, him ditching you alone with Tano to fondle some tits was a classic move. I didn't ditch him to... Now I flash my eyes at Ranok so that he plays along. Ugh, it wasn't like that. No? Would have been harder to bounce her up and down with Piglet at your side. She threw herself on me. Yes, and you put up a valiant fight. I try hard not to be snoopy, but I cannot help it. The she-wolf made me incredibly jealous, more so than I have a right to be. But still, I have to know. Is that a common occurrence? With Ranok? Oh yes. Vol almost sounds annoyed. Every female in this village just swoons over the fucker. Honestly, I don't know what they see in him. I do. I've been swooning over him since day one. It's that smile. His damn cocky smile. I hope he doesn't abuse this. Again, perhaps too sneaky a jab, but I want to know if all this attention doesn't get to his head. Ha! If half the tribe had what he has, there'd be pups running all around the place. I close my eyes and sigh discreetly. Good boy. Could we change the subject? This is getting slightly awkward. The wolf looks away, clearly unsettled by our little exchange. Sure. Vol shrugs. How about you explain to me why the fuck you're leaving all of a sudden? Your father exempts you from any tasks that would leave the piglet unattended. You mean without someone to attend to? He flashes his brows at me in amusement, causing Ranok to sigh. Someone has to find out what happened with Vulgor and Delaron. It's been way too long. Tawna could have taken care of that, and it would get him out of the village. Which is why he would never volunteer for this, and my father doesn't see any urgency to actually order a search party. Vol muses, shaking the bottle to gauge the remaining levels of booze. He takes a sip and then pushes the bottle towards me. Should have asked me then. I would have gone. You want a week's rest? What sort of a leader would force a friend to forego his leave? I tilt my head in agreement as I take the final gulp of the moonshine. Damn, Vol nearly demolished it all on his own. I smell bullshit. Where was this urgency and concern a day ago? You're not telling me something. He drills his gaze into each of us, darting it back and forth expectantly. I dearly hope he doesn't suspect anything. Fuck, I don't think it would be a good idea to unpack that little morsel right now. Ranok shares my troubled expression, and I wonder if he has a plan to dodge this bullet. You are right. He nods awkwardly. There's another reason. I got blinded by the human. I got so focused on the idea of him being my path that I neglected what truly matters. My duty. So I try to fix that. I look at him in disbelief. I might know this wolf just 7 days, but even I'm not that dumb to buy this pathetic excuse. As much as I'm glad to hear you're finally coming to your senses, I know it's horseshit. I'd say it's far more likely that you just need some time apart. My heart skips a beat as my eyes widen in shock. Ranok's also extremely troubled, and I begin to wonder if we have just been found out. What, you think I'm stupid? He looks to me with a smirk, and I swallow heavily. I would have hoped you'd at least be a little bit, yes. With the amount of wool he pulled over your head, I bet you two are bickering like two old mates. Vol nods to Ranok, laughing it off. This right here being prime example. He stretches his arms behind his back in satisfaction, and I barely contain a sigh. Yeah, I am quite annoyed, not gonna lie. I smile awkwardly. See? At least the piglet's being honest. Okay, you got us. Ranok chuckles. We started to get on each other's nerves a little bit. Ha! I knew it. Vol bangs the table in contempt. That path of yours turned out to be a thornbrush trail, eh? He elbows Ranok mockingly, and we just exchange relieved gazes. Right, we better get going. Your father hates when we're late for the meetings. A meeting? Yes, before any pack leaves, the elders come to give us their guidance. Vol rolls his eyes in annoyance, and I immediately pick up on his train of thought. Nothing like a bunch of old people telling you how to do a thing completely unrelated to their actual circumstance. I simply shrug and stand up. No, you cannot come. But no piggies allowed. I throw Ranok a worried gaze. I won't let him leave without a proper goodbye. The Grey Wolf nods to me, immediately understanding my distress. Could you go ahead? I'll catch up to you. Huh? Vol raises his brow in slight suspicion, but Ranok doesn't seem to care. I just want a moment alone with him. Why? Ranok just stands there looking at his friend tellingly. I'm not sure if he doesn't respond because he doesn't want to tell him, or he can't tell him the truth because eventually Vol takes the hint. Ugh, if you're going to get sappy here, then yes, I better leave. It's called positive reinforcement. It's called being a moon-damned den mother. The black male scoffs and throws me a rather unsettling gaze. By the time you're back, I'll toughen up that little wimp. Please, don't. Ranok mutters, watching Vol opening the door. Yeah, I'd rather he didn't either. So far, Vol's methods end up with me being roughed up, rather than toughened up. I'll come and look in on you later. The Black Wolf scoffs and closes the door behind him. Silence falls over the room as we just stand there rather uncertain what to do or say. Ranok didn't even turn to face me, his gaze still locked on the door. It almost seems as if he was reconsidering this whole idea to leave. Suppose he came up with it where the emotions were high and now regrets it without means to back out. That perhaps wouldn't have been the case with me, but no. When he finally sighs and turns to face me, I see his typical confident smile. Despite acting like a pup, he does have his life figured out. So I guess this is goodbye? Goodbye? He blinks for a moment, but quickly smiles again. More like, see you later. You know what I mean. I mumble, fiddling with the edge of my shawl. Although I agree with the whole idea on paper, it only now dawns on me I actually won't see him for a few days. He won't come back. No, I'm not even entertaining that idea. You okay? He tilts his head into my field of vision. I cut off, not really sure if it's even fair to say it. But I think we both should know the newly established policy of honesty between us. I'll miss you. I try to hold back my emotions. What is wrong with me? Despite learning you're now part of the furniture, he raises his brow teasingly and I chuckle. Yes, despite that. I'll miss you loads, as silly as it sounds. I rub away stray tear. He can annoy me so much at times, but all of it is circumstance. I slowly begin to see that. He's struggling to find his bearing in this messed up situation as much as I am. I'll miss you too. He snickers, ruffling my hair in a teasing fashion. But that only gives more reason to come back as fast as possible. Yeah. I try to smile back. Don't worry, I'm sure Vol will be a handful. I'm afraid you'll have to look out for him as much as he will be looking out for you. Without a doubt. I scoff through a laugh. I'm really proud that I managed to keep the waterworks down. Just be careful while I'm gone, okay? I nod, picking up the dandelion and booping him on the nose with it. This time I won't lose it. I'll hold you to it. The wolf smiles as I rush to grab a spare cup. I fill it with water from the jug, intent on placing the flower in it. If you'll crush the end, it'll absorb the water better. Oh! I looked in with confusion and he extends his paw towards me. Here. I pass him the dandelion and he places it back onto the table. He unsheaths his smaller sword, using its pommel to crash the stem's edge. It causes it to split into many tiny fibers, and I smile with amazement. He has so much to teach me. He places the flower into the cup, which I still hold in my hands. Should last a week without a problem. I smile, putting down the cup onto the table and looking at him with slight embarrassment. Is it okay if I hug you before you leave? I wouldn't have it any other way. The wolf smiles, his tail swinging from side to side in obvious joy. Before I even open my arms, his paw swoops behind me and he pulls me deep into his chest. My head sinks into his neck fluff and I take deep inhales of his scent, almost as if wanting to imprint it into my memory. His embrace is equally as desperate, as for the first time he uses actual strength to keep me close. I can feel his muzzle and cheeks rub against the top of my head as the wolf nuzzles into my hair. I feel safe, warm, and cherished in his arms. But like any good thing, this hug comes to a faster end than I'd like it to, as Ranok pulls away from me. He looks rather troubled, evidently struggling to maintain his mask. You'll be fine. I try to sound encouraging and he looks at me with surprise. Me? He laughs. You always worry about the others, don't you? I'll be fine as long as you promise you will stay vigilant. I will. I nod with a confident smile. I'll prove to you that I don't need a babysitter. Good. I'm looking forward to it. The wolf approaches the doors and pulls the handle. The light of the outside world floods the kitchen as he opens them ajar. I know you'll make me proud. I nod and simply watch as he steps out, with the light slowly receding as he shuts the door behind him. I'm gonna leave off here tonight. This fucking game. I'm not going to be doing a TikTok tonight. I'm not going to make one. Yeah, a lot of things did happen. It's confirmed Ranok is gay. Or like, bi or whatever. Anyways, like I said, I'm not doing a TikTok tonight. I'll post it on Twitter or something. And, can't really say much else, so, stay safe, have a good night, and I might see you all tomorrow, I don't know.